This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Thanks for joining us again here on Financial Insanity. We're getting to your questions today as part of our show. Get some insights from Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Also, going to keep Scott on his toes. Got a lightning round of think fast questions coming up. But first, Scott, always excited to do the show with you, my friend, but this is the 100th show that we've done together. And Scott,
wow.
I will honestly say it gets better every time, my friend. I really do enjoy this. I do enjoy doing this with you. 100, man. That's pretty cool. Not a bad relationship,
I love it.
man.
As long as I'm not 100, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. So let's jump into it. Again, these are some questions. You know, we've done 100 of these shows. We get questions sent in to us, and we compile some of the ones that we want to talk about. And so today, in this one, no surprise here. This is a big topic here, Scott. So first question.
Uh-oh.
How do I figure out how much I'll have to pay in taxes in retirement? We're all curious about that, aren't we?
You know, that's a good question. I think we get that every single time when our firm does taxes. We get that when you're doing your tax planning. And so that's a great question, Alex. And of course, when you're looking at Social Security, you know, if you're single, anything under $25,000, no big deal, no tax. But when you have income over that, it becomes taxable. If you're married, it goes up to $44,000, and it could be up to 85% on your Social Security. The question, that means if you're bringing in $1,000 a month from Social Security, $850 is going to be taxed. The other difference won't be. So when you look at the picture, and we talk about the paying in taxes, you really need to look at your tax return, long-term capital gains versus short-term. You've got dividends and interest. You've got qualified dividends versus non-qualified dividends. And for those of you who have rental income, maybe you're working part-time, maybe you're working under the table, but you're getting cash. That's fine. I didn't hear that, but I'm just telling you, they look at everything. So when we look at the questions about how much I have to pay in taxes in retirement, it should go down. You're not paying a FICA, FUCA tax. You're not adding into any of that Social Security because you're not working. But you are making money from other areas. Even if you're taking money out of annuities from an account that's not an IRA, we call that a non-qualified account. That could be taxable on the gain, like short-term capital gains. Well, it's ordinary income on the annuity. So that's a loaded question, Alex. Maybe people should be doing Roth conversions because if we know taxes are going to be going up in the future, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we have so much debt. This is a tax play for those of you out there. How is your financial advisor really, really looking at your tax returns when it comes to taxes and income? By the way, if you have those questions, I don't know if I should say this, Alex, but if you have those questions, 609-488-4646, or call your financial guy or gal. I think what's the most important is being aware, and then not only being aware, but take action. What should you do if it's possible to reduce taxes? Very hard, but good question.
Yeah, and thank you for giving that number out because we do want folks to obviously call to set an appointment, but also if you have any questions for us, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Another kind of loaded question. I realize there can be a lot of answers here, but the common one that we get here, Scott, is how do I know if I've saved enough for retirement?
Alex, we've been speaking about this for some time in our many different shows.
Apparently 100 shows.
Oh, really? That's right. 100 shows. You're right. And of course, when clients come in here, that is the very, very good question. Do I know I've saved up? You see, number one, what you don't want to do is compare yourself with your neighbor. And the reason why I hear this so often is because a lot of times, maybe your neighbor has an income of, let's say, all their Social Security, their dividends, their interest, their pension, and they're making $6,000 to $8,000 a month, and you're playing mahjong at your house or cards, and you're thinking to yourself, we don't say it out loud, I wonder what we should have. Are we okay? And that's why I get these questions so often, Alex, are you okay? So I would go back to the very basics. Now, one of the very basics is called the rule of 4, which suggests that you can withdraw 4% from retirement portfolio annually. Now, you can take it out monthly, but annually, the total of 4%. For example, if you've got $1 million, you can pull out $40,000 very comfortably. I think that's an easy rule. Now, if you go back just a few years ago, that easy rule wasn't easy. It was sleazy because you couldn't even find 4% just a few years ago, and now interest rates are up 5%. So again, it's a good time to reevaluate your investments. Then you want to also, on using the rule of 4, calculate your savings. How much extra cash do you need in case there's an emergency? Next thing I would look at, estimate your expenses. And I guess when I'm saying estimate, you can run a whole spreadsheet. And if you want a copy of our spreadsheet, you give us a call at our studio, 609-488-4646. If you want to get a budget sheet, I can get you one of those. Just call my office and ask one of my lovely staff members to get that to you so you can put it together. And don't just get it to say, I got it, but take action. Again, estimating your expenses. And then, of course, what expenses show up, most people don't remember or think about is the grandbabies. Well, another one pops out. There's another Christmas present. There's another birthday present. Are you watching what you're spending? And then again, I think another thing, are you factoring healthcare costs? And as we've been going through this terrible inflation we've had, and hopefully that'll change, are you looking at your dollar? Are you spending more money? This is where this question, again, is another loaded question of, have I saved enough for retirement?
Yep.
Again, you've got to really spend time with this. You cannot wing it. It cannot be like an ostrich with your head in the ground, because what's exposed? Your vitals are exposed,
Yep.
and that's your wallet. And that's what you don't. So this is where it's very important to speak to your financial advisor. If he or she is not looking at your taxes as well as your investments, as well as the income and your spending, and maybe you need to put your pride in your back pocket. Do you have a lot of debt? Have you incurred a lot of debt lately? What are you doing? What's going on? Are the kids borrowing money from you often? Perhaps you need to learn the cuss word. It's a 2-letter cuss word. No. So I'm just encouraging those out there, again, pay attention to the very basics. And there's a lot more, Alex, but I think this is a good summary of that.
Oh, no, for sure. And you can dive more into it if people have questions. That number, 609-488-4646. 609-488-4646. Now, in just a couple minutes here, we're going to do some rapid-fire questions towards Scott to get to better know him a little bit here. But first, one more kind of more serious question here before we do that.
Yeah.
So another listener question, what are some of my options for income in retirement? We all know about Social Security, but what are some other options for income?
Alex, this is a very, very wonderful question. And the reason why is because when you're young, you're saving like your age, Alex, you're saving money, you're putting it away, and you really don't worry about dollar cost averaging into the market. Why? Because the market goes up and down. You keep doing it and it works. When it comes to retirement, investing for the G, growth, versus investing for the I, income, is the hardest part and the most death-defying, wallet-defying challenge out there, shifting from growth to income, because you can't spend growth when the market drops. So when you shift to income, and if you've been to my shows, if you are out there first time listening, income that will last and give you a paycheck the first of every month coming in. Let me give you some ideas of these options. Number one, it could be interest in the bank accounts. They're paying good interest rates these days. Take advantage of it. Maybe you need to lock your money up in longer periods of investments and lock those high interest rates before they start going down. If you're not sure how to do that, feel free to give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. So interest income on your money. Second thing would be dividends. What kind of dividends? Are they dividends that are qualified or non-qualified dividends? This hits your tax returns, but investing for dividends that pay you a nice little check either on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, semi-annual basis, or annual basis. Again, dividends and interest to get that nice. That way you're not eating your principal. You're enjoying, I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. So if you want to eat, take the dividends out. If you don't want to eat, but you want to make more chickens, well, take the dividends and buy another chicken. And this is where the art of income is lost, because most people in my age are so focused on the bottom right line in growth. And when you have growth and the market goes down, you have shrinkage, and you're just focusing on that versus focusing on the dividend. And if you're out there, or the interest payments, if you're out there and you're having that problem, please do yourself a huge favor. Write this down. Do me a favor. Write this down right now. Listen, 609-488-4646. When you write that down, then you pick up the phone when you have some time. Leave our staff a message. I'll call you back, because this is the hardest shifting from the growth stage to the income stage. And by not doing it, you could absolutely cannibalize your assets very rapidly in a market that's declining. Very important.
Very important. Now, speaking of rapidly, we're going to get to rapid fire questions real quick here. So I don't want you to be thinking at all here. This is the very first thought you have. Answer the question. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock. First one, what is your biggest industry frustration?
People not taking action, and people being lazy and not really paying attention.
Favorite TV show?
Gomer Pyle.
Nice. Favorite color?
Purple.
Ah. Color you wear the most?
Jeans and a nice shirt.
Well, is that a color?
It's blue.
Blue.
It's
okay.
blue. Sorry.
Jean color's blue too.
Yeah, jeans, I guess. Yeah.
How many pets do you have?
7 horses, 1 dog.
Oh, wow. What is your go-to late night, maybe midnight snack?
I don't have it. I don't have one. Water.
Water. Yeah, that's fine. What was your first job?
Mowing lawns.
Yeah, a lot of people can relate to that one.
I sure did.
What is your favorite sports team?
Used to be the Miami Dolphins. Now I don't know. Otherwise, guess they're still the favorite, even though their record isn't that good.
I was going to say, so you're a little bit of a free agent.
Yeah, I guess so.
If another team came along, it wouldn't be too much. But hey, that means looking at you, Dolphins, you got a guy out here that do something. You might have a real fan.
I grew up in Jacksonville, so I had to go then. I picked the Jaguars, but they never won that much, so I left.
Dan Marino was a long time ago, that's for sure.
Yeah, he was.
Usual breakfast order?
Usually eggs and toast.
Yeah.
And bacon.
Pretty good. All right, last one here. Financial advice you would hope your kids/grandkids never forget.
Put away 10% of every dollar you make. I encourage that for everyone listening. If they could brainwash their children, if I could get them to save 10% and just put it away, don't even look at it, I think people would be so excitingly better off. And if you took a job, use your 401k or your 403b for that choice, 10%.
I love that. Great advice. If you remember nothing else today, remember that right there.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Scott. That number one final time, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Plenty more of Financial Insanity coming up.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
When planning for retirement, are you confident you're not making any mistakes? Would you like to know more now so you don't have a painful lesson in the future? Of course, right? Well, good thing you're joining us today on Financial Insanity, because throughout the years, Scott McLean and his great team at McLean Advisory Group has identified 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement. And so you're going to want to listen today. And the first one, Scott, first common mistake is, well, pretty simple. You don't have a fully mapped out retirement strategy.
Nothing. So many times, and we have a unique process. If anybody would like to get it from us, please feel free to ask for Bonnie at 609-488-4646. I have a unique email I can send you as you try to map out your strategies. And I actually have it really laid out as you put your budget together. This is not a do-it-over plan. This is not let's test it out plan. I mean, if you made a couple critical mistakes, it could really affect the quality of retirement. So again, as you map out the retirement, what does it look like, feel like? How much we saving, how much we spending? And this is number one, the problem number one. If you're forced into retirement, that's okay. I understand. As we talked about in an earlier segment, we spoke about, Alex, about long-term care.
Yeah.
If you're forced into it because you're taking care of your grandson, or maybe your wife has to, or your husband has to take off work to take care of their beautiful spouse. Sometimes we're forced in these situations. Okay, what does that look like? Seek help, and let's do a map out a plan, because this is not a do-it-yourself gimmick. You go to the place where people have gone through this challenge before and seek help, because it's not only where does the money come from, it's how much tax am I going to have to pay? It's will I run out of money before I run out of life?
Yep. You got to look at everything, and that's what we mean by a fully mapped out retirement strategy. It's hard to look at everything if you don't know everywhere to look, and that's where somebody like Scott McLean can really help out at McLean Advisory Group. All right, second common mistake people make before retiring is, well, you're living beyond your means, contributing little or nothing to the savings you'll need after your paychecks stop. You don't want to do that.
No. And if you're out there and you're about to retire or plan on retiring, maybe your favorite sport is, let's say, bowling. Maybe you get a job at a bowling alley and have a little extra income coming in. After you do, plan one, figure what your budget is. Number two, are you spending too much? When the grandbabies start to pop out of the oven and you start visiting them, maybe go to the thrift store versus the Lehman Marcus store. Maybe you get a little bit more frugal, because again, burning your cash could be tremendously burden to your retirement. And then of course it could affect you if you have a good long life. Maybe you don't want to have cat food when you're 80 years old. So be very, very cautious and be diligent on how much you're spending, because you can spend beyond your means. Plus you got kids knocking on the door. Dad, Mom, can I get some money? I can't pay my mortgage. Mom, Dad, I'm going through a divorce. Can you help me? I need some money. Mom, Dad, I'd surely like my son to have special football shoes. Can you help me? And I'm not saying any of those are bad, but the question is, when the door starts knocking, thinking about how your retirement could start knocking.
Yep. And it's that dirty B word. And no, not that one, but the other dirty B word, budget. And, it's that old adage, you got to pay yourself first. And this is that situation where you got to make sure that you're putting that money in for when those paychecks that you currently have stop. And like you said, you can have some part-time work, but you're not going to want to work just as much for retirement because that's not retirement. So how do you replace those paychecks? And that's the kind of thing Scott McLean, his team at McLean Advisory Group can help with. That number is always 609-488-4646, going over some common mistakes people make before entering retirement, trying to help you get ahead of these things. The first one we talked about, not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy. And the second one is living beyond your means, not contributing enough to the savings you're going to need after those paychecks stop. So the third common mistake, Scott, is that, well, you're under the impression that you're going to be healthy forever. And therefore, you're ignoring the cost of health care in retirement. And you can hear from Scott that this is not going to be the case. You're not going to be healthy forever. And there's, like we mentioned, long-term care before, just health care in general. These are things, again, you got to budget for.
You do. And if there's a lot of tools out there, but I can tell you, if you have an HSA, please jump on that. As long as it's not the use it or lose it plan, you need to find out about that. Great place to really pack away money, especially if those are heading into retirement. If you can really start plowing money away into an HSA. If not, start plowing your money, maybe if you can, into an IRA. If your spouse is not working, maybe plow your money into an IRA Roth as a spousal Roth plan if one of you are still working. So again, think about the money as you're having it in there. And if in case you need it, where do you pull it from and how the tax implication will happen? Because the third mistake is, again, we're all going to stay healthy. And God, we know, I take tons of vitamins. I want to stay healthy. But as Alex knows, we all get hurt, get injured, things happen. And when they happen, you feel like a $6 million man, then you're being a 2-cent man because you kind of sit in your bed saying, I can't get out. I can't do this. I can't do what I used to do. Please pay attention, look at the dollars, and again, watch out how much you spend. The part number 2 we just spoke about. Again, you're very important to pay attention to that, your health, and get it. Yeah. And you know what? Work out. Go to the gym. That's probably the best thing for most everybody listening right now. Get your butt to the gym, work out, do the treadmill, do something, at least 45 minutes a day, do some kind of cardio work.
Yeah, you could walk to go visit Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group if you would like, right here in Waretown. He'll help you with those.
Buy Dunkin' Donuts on the way.
Yeah, there you go. Why not? I'm sure Scott would take something for you.
Absolutely.
Not necessary, but he'll take it. Again, that number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And we're going through these common mistakes people make before entering retirement. And really one of the big points is just, Scott, you've seen this stuff. I mean, you haven't seen it all. There's something new every day, but you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of different situations and different things that have worked for different kinds of people and in different situations at different times and things that people have forgotten. And so these mistakes, you go through them in your head, you're thinking, yep, I can think of a couple of times that somebody maybe was doing this. And so this is where having someone like you can step in and just take a realistic look at things. It's like, yeah, you think you're going to live forever, or you want to keep spending as much money as you want right now without thinking about the future. And Scott's somebody that can sit down and say, hey, let's just go ahead and go over this. Let's really be realistic about this, because at the end of the day, you're going to feel better about things if you know that things have been addressed and that you have a plan.
There's no doubt. You don't want to, again, like I say, you want to help the kids out, the family out, give money away. And the question is, you're not paying attention to maybe you're going to live a good long life, and will you have enough money versus not having enough money and too much life left over.
Yeah.
You got inflation, Alex. You got inflation coming up too. That's another person we can talk about.
That is absolutely true. And that's why it's almost kind of silly when I say you got to have a plan, because you do have to have a plan, but part of that plan has to be those things you can't plan for. You got to have those funds and those strategies for when stuff is going to hit the fan or when something unheard of is going to happen.
I mean, these old folks listen to me right now. You're same age as me, probably out there for sure. Probably I'm a little older. But you think about rapid inflation we saw in the 82 to 90, where we saw interest rates just scream. It just went up. Now, we just saw it just screams past year and a half faster on a short-term period than we did in 82 to 90. And so we saw that scream so rapidly. And I just spoke to someone today. That's why their bond account dropped so rapidly. They thought, Scott, I thought bonds were safe. I said, did the advisor keep you in the bond account? They said, yes. I said, that's a shame, because it's when you see rapid inflation, you don't want to be in these sort of tools that could really evaporate your money, and bonds will go down even though you thought they were safe. Again, how do you fight for inflation? Are you putting enough away? And I think this is a big misnomer. Hey, by the way, Mom and Dad, are you out there? Grandpa, Grandma, I think about this because I'm a grandpa as well. You think about this. If you could teach your kids one simple rule, Alex, this is for you too, and all you young studettes down there, or studs out there, 10% of your income. So if you're making $300 a week, $30. You're making $3,000 a week, $300. 10% of your income should be put away for your retirement. And so if you're doing that, but if your wife is working or spouse is working, again, 10% of their income, this is a very easy formula. I can tell you most people don't do it, or they do it and they end up putting their hand in the cookie jar and yanking it out later. If you could just drill this into the kids, 10% every time you get paid, I can tell you, you will be so far ahead. If you do what other people won't do, you'll have what other people won't have. I promise you, do it. 10%. Use that number.
And that number for Scott and his team, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, ada.com for the website. As we're going through 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement, we have 2 more on the other side.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This, to me, is very important.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
We are using Scott and his team's decades of experience to identify 5 common mistakes people often make before they hit retirement. Last segment, we went over not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy, living beyond your means, and ignoring healthcare costs in retirement. We'll go back through those real quickly again, but we want to get to the next 2. And the 4th common mistake, Scott, is you aren't saving enough to account for inflation. You mentioned this briefly, but that's a big one.
So we spoke about the very basic rules for the younger people, and of course older people as well. Use the rule of the 10% rule. But if we know inflation's up to 6%, well, can you add? Is it possible? And I don't want to be dictating on the radio saying it's possible, because when inflation takes off, it's hard to save money. But if you can actually put in a little extra percentage away just to keep up with inflation, if the boss gives you a raise, can you say, great, let's go ahead and put that full raise into my savings account, my 401k, my 403b, my Roth IRA? Can I put that away? Or maybe some of you just into a liquid cash account. Where do we put that money? I was just looking at some accounts today, and I've just noticed today, speaking to you guys, there's some accounts out there paying 6.15% guaranteed for 5 years. I've never seen it this high. I'm not trying to sell you on you guys listening to me. I'm telling you, I was excited to see that, because I know people want safe money, no fees, no expense, $6,150 on every $100,000. In other words, that's almost like, what, $500 you could put in your pocket just for every single period you want. You just want to take some money out. $6,000 you could grow on that guaranteed bucket. So again, there's some safe places to put money out there. How do you take it out? Is it taxable or non-taxable? But again, you've got to put it away for inflation. And then you've got to really buckle down and just be a real savvy shopper and look at how you can buy, or can you put off things, or can you reduce your expenses if you're really, really, really hurting for cash, because this is so important. But it will end. Inflation will go, schools change. It's just how are you getting through it now?
Yeah. Well, and you said something really smart too, and this goes for anybody, but something happens where, okay, a windfall, or you're going to consistently be getting more money now, and you just put that money away, and you keep living as you were living before under the same budget. And that extra money, that's the stuff that, okay, you are already saving for retirement and you had a savings. Well, in that savings now it's accounting for inflation also because of the extra money you're able to put in. And so I just think that's really wise as well, giving people the green light to say, hey, you get that raise or you get that other stream of income coming in, and you just keep your budget the same and you put that extra money aside because you are going to need it in the future. It is going to happen.
Sneaks up on all of us for sure. Everyone. I don't care. By the way, if you're thinking, well, that's easy to say if you're rich and wealthy, let me tell you something. They scrimp and save money just like you. They're budgeting money. They're watching their dollars. When COVID hit, they didn't go out and buy fancy rings and Rolexes and stuff. They were watching their money. When the market took a drop, two different drops in 2000 to 2003, 50% drop, 2007 to 2009, almost a 60% drop. You tell me the wealthy wasn't concerned? Well, everyone was concerned. And if we have another stock market tremendous challenge, this is why people are calling us and meeting with us, because there could be something down the line, let alone with inflation, but let alone being sick and disabled, let alone the 5 common mistakes people have, spending too much money. But the question is, are you really paying attention to what's going on? If not, get an advisor who's really in the know.
And the number for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. As Scott and his team have identified 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement. The final common retirement planning mistake: you haven't planned for the possibility of long-term care. We're going back to something we mentioned earlier, but we want to put a bow on the thought because it is important. It can't be overlooked. And it's something we mentioned earlier, that those that are turning 65 right now, over half of them are going to need long-term care in the future.
You know, I haven't said this in the last show, and I apologize to our veterans and to our spouses of veterans during wartime. It doesn't mean your spouse was in, let's say, Vietnam, Afghanistan. They could be here stateside, but they qualify for benefits. And there's some very unique benefits if you're listening to me now, whether you're World War II, still around, Korea, Vietnam, and you think Gulf, and all these different wars that came out, the veterans have a very unique plan. If you have a question, you're a veteran out there, I can guide you in the areas of, could there be some benefits for you or your spouse if you serve during these times? They call the aid and attendance pension benefit. And I can tell you, people overlook that, especially financial planners don't really ask those questions, which we do, because we want to help our vets and we want you to get the most out of it. The second thing we think about on top of that long-term care is, again, maybe you're guiding your mom and dad, and maybe you're taking care of them. Maybe they moved into your house. How are you entering them on the tax returns? This is kind of off the color. We talk about benefits, but this could be a benefit. How are you taking care of them? Is there any deductions? How are you keeping records of taking care of your mom and dad? Maybe it's your husband, your wife, your children, your grandchildren. So you want to look at all the different areas, again, of where to get the money. How do I pull the money out if I need the money? Am I saving enough money in case something does happen? And then again, how does it look in the big picture? How do I protect my money? And so that would go into the legal aspects of trust planning. So as we look at the 3D process, our 3D planning process, the dreams, keeping your money together, the dollars, how they're going to last, And then the dynasty, how does it pass it on? How can we look at all three areas with these 3D glasses? So when we talk about it, this will help you when you put your head on the pillow, think, you know what? I think I'm buttoned up pretty good. Let's just double check. Let's meet with Scott.
Yep.
609-488-4646. Please, this is the time not to play as we head into a new year. This is a great time to plan. And again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. If you've got questions, I can tell you I'll get the answer. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer. I'm pretty good at this, but if I don't have an answer off the cuff, I will get the answer. I've known tons of people, and I can tell you that it's nothing worse than having a question unanswered.
Absolutely. And today we went over 5 common mistakes people often make before retirement. To recap, the first mistake, not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy. If you don't feel like you've addressed everything, now's the time to get with Scott. Or if you're just not even sure, then check in with the team at McLean Advisory Group. What about living beyond your means so you're not saving enough for when you get into retirement? This is a big one. If you need help budgeting, again, Scott and his team can help out. You also don't want to ignore healthcare costs in retirement. This is big, as we all think that we're bulletproof, or maybe we just don't quite understand what it's going to look like and how we're going to pay for healthcare in retirement. It's all part of that all-encompassing, comprehensive strategy. You got to look at that. Another mistake, not saving enough to account for inflation. We've definitely seen that one rear its ugly head, and it'll happen again in the future. Got to make sure you're setting some funds aside for that. And then the 5th common mistake, not planning for the possibility of long-term care. So we talked about healthcare costs, but you have that, and that's different than, well, you might have an extended stay or extended care treatment that is needed for you or a loved one, and you definitely got to look at that. But this is all something that has to do with stuff that you can look at to make sure that you're really looking at everything, that 3D approach that you talk about. That's why it's so important to come in and get guidance from somebody like Scott. That number again, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, add a .com for the website. Well, good stuff. And when we come up, this is one of our funnest segments that we do. We're going to go back in time, hopping in that time machine, baby. We're going back to a very fun and groovy time. We're going back to 1975.
Yeah, baby.
Very great time for rock and other things happening. So we're going to go back and look at that. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment, the egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
McLean Advisory Group is so thankful for our veterans and the sacrifices they've made over the years. We're going to talk today about some programs aiming to help these great veterans with daily activities, medical expenses, and more. Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean.
That's right.
Today, we have a good friend of his, Robert Brown, retired Navy veteran for over 20 years. He was a chief petty officer for the Persian Gulf, and now Veterans Service Officer helping folks. Robert, thank you so much for serving this great country and for continuing to help folks find those great benefits.
My pleasure.
That is awesome. And Scott, I know you guys have quite the history, and you like each other a little bit. You work together, you like each other, and that's a good mix, right, Scott?
Once in a while.
It is a good mix. His wife's beautiful family, took his family out on the boat. We just had some fun together. So the neatest thing is how it started as we were helping our veterans. I took a class, as I mentioned in our previous show, about the aid and attendance pension benefit, which that benefit for whether you're in a nursing home or you're at home. I mean, that benefit is really, really beneficial. My daddy was served in Korea. My grandfather served in World War II, and I am a 4F, not a Dodger. I'm a 4F. In other words, I didn't qualify because of surgeries on my body before when I tried to go in, but that was the rule in the McLean house. But notwithstanding, the aid and attendance benefit on our previous show talked about could you get benefits whether you're at home or not because you're sick or disabled, or maybe you need to go into the facility like Vineland, Paramus, Menlo Park. There's great facility. One of the best ones, I believe, in New Jersey is Vineland. But this program today, we spoke about that as a previous program, but this program today is for our veterans that serve. And there's two types of benefits, the two types of benefits that Robert is very well of. And Robert is 100% disabled veteran benefit, not because he's ugly and I'm better looking, but because he's actually, this is not textbook, this is real world. And of course, the lawyer in our office also is 100% disabled benefit, getting these wonderful benefits. There's a connected benefit, service connected benefit, and there's a non-service connected benefit. And Robert, if we looked at the service connected versus non-service, we talk about the aid and attendance benefit, which is a wonderful benefit for those of you or your parents. You need to know about it. You need to ask us. And by the way, if you don't know about that, the number is 609-488-4646. Please feel free to give our studios a call if you have any questions. We'll get you in touch with Robert or someone that can handle your calls. If I'm busy, I don't want to miss your call. 609-488-4646. But Alex, we're talking about this connected benefits. Rob, there's two types of benefits. Let's give a summary of the this other benefit we talk about. Well, you see on TV all the time this benefit down in Camp Lejeune. We've been doing this thing for how many years, Robert? Since 2008.
Sure, a long time.
And I have one of our gentlemen in our church who has spina bifida, which comes from the water, Camp Lejeune, and he, as child of a veteran, didn't know he qualified. And when I mentioned to him, he says, "I don't believe it." And so, of course, now he believes it. Robert, there's a lot of benefits. Let's go ahead and break it down as quick as you can as we think about this great benefit.
Okay. So generally the way this works is if you wore a uniform for some period of time, however long that was, and you got injured doing anything, it could have been your hand, your finger, your eye, your leg, your knee, what have you, and that's recorded somewhere in your medical record, then you report that. The big question to the VA before they'll pay you any compensation, this is the term, it's not a pension. This form is called a compensation. Before they pay you any compensation of money, they have to figure out, did this happen when you were in uniform, while you were active duty, or did it not? So if you were out of service and discharged and you got in a car accident, it's, quote, a non-service connected issue, and the VA will not pay that. So it had to have happened or started or at least exacerbated while you were in the service in the uniform. So is this a service connected benefit? That's what has to be determined first. And the VA does a process to figure that out. Once that's done, they say, okay, here's your problem. I understand. I'm going to send you to a third-party adjudicator to confirm the severity of that problem, if it's hearing, again, if it's a broken leg, what have you, and where do we go from there? Is it a recurring problem, or is it a problem that's been fixed and now you're 100% better? Again, no compensation. But if there's still an existing issue, then the VA will pay this compensation of a certain percentage, equating to a certain amount of dollars every single month, again, tax-free.
In our place in Florida, we have an Ocala farm, and we have an equestrian center down there. We're behind there, the World Equestrian Center. We have one of our gentlemen who takes care of our property down there, and he is a veteran. He was in Afghanistan. He went through some real challenges, and he wasn't sure about the benefits. I said, Robert, do me a favor and give my friend, we won't say his name, but give my friend a call. I think he qualifies for benefits. He was not getting 100%, and he did connect it. He's been through a lot of challenges. I won't go deep, but some of you listening right now, maybe you have been in some deep challenges and you're afraid to apply because you saw your buddies got damaged or hurt in the war, but you didn't, and therefore you think you shouldn't apply because you don't deserve it. Right?
Downplaying the issue. You think other people deserve it, but you are just as eligible from a wartime vet versus a service-connected vet. Two different situations.
And Robert and I see this all the time, and I see these veterans as I'm doing the financial planning, and I ask the question, what went on? And when I see their eyes glaze over, they don't want to talk about it, I wait to get alone with them, or I have Robert call them, because a vet to a vet will talk, versus I'm a non-vet, even though I know this program very well. They would rather speak to somebody who's been in the muck, who's been in the trenches,
Sure.
who's gone through this worst problem. And then, of course, I tell Robert, do me a favor, call maybe you. If your spouse, if you're on there and your wife or your husband's on there and you've seen your spouse go through this, give us a call, and maybe Robert can help you say some words where maybe your husband or your wife, the veteran, would like to get help, but they're afraid to get help. And I can't tell you, when I was developing another program with Columbia University, which is with the horses, if you'll see War Horses with Earl Mack, we were developing that program until COVID hit. I can tell you this is a tremendous benefit for PTSD as well. Robert can be very helpful. 609-488-4646. Again, please don't put yourself on the shelf.
Yeah.
Come off the shelf. Come off the, well, I don't need to apply. I'm tough. Well, I'm doing that now with my hurt knee. I walk around tough because I know I got to get surgery. But this is something you don't want to put off, because as you get older, more issues start to crop up, Robert. Is that right?
Oh, they do. They increase over the time, multiple times. And then had you not explored that issue, now you're putting it off. And the commencement begins when you start your application. You cannot get any retroactive money, but only moving forward once the application is put in. So don't hesitate. Talk to us. Get a hold of us. We'll figure out where to navigate the waters from there, sailor speaking.
Once the application is put in. So thinking about it doesn't start it. Just filling out the form doesn't start it. You actually have to submit it.
Yeah,
that's correct.
And Scott, you've been helping people with their finances for over 40 years, but also very importantly, since 2008, you've been specifically helping people with their benefits if they're veterans, as you opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group back in 2008. And we're talking today with Robert Brown, retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, served for 20 years, and now is a Veterans Service Officer. And guys, we have a few minutes left, and I know we're talking about some known benefits, some unknown benefits. What maybe are some other benefits or opportunities for folks that people should know about?
Well, there's a number of them. Some of them are, if you wanted dental care, you can get that. Not necessarily a particular benefit, but a benefit from having served. If you had dental issues, you can apply for a certificate of eligibility for a home loan. There are burial benefits that many people don't know about, as far as funeral services, costs incurred, the veterans cemetery, the plot, the grave marker, some of those. There's a spousal benefit that you can get for the spouses of the veteran who passed away. Again, a monthly basis for payment of that. Surviving spouse benefit, they called. Or there's dependent education benefits for the children of some of those veterans. For example, my daughter is going to Stockton University as a quote cut rate because the VA pays part of her education based upon my disability. So she's the recipient of my service and gets those benefits for her college education. So spouse dependent education benefits there. My wife could go to school if she would choose to because of the disability status that I'm at. And again, all of this is a monthly benefit, non-taxable. You don't talk about it to the accountants.
And Robert, I want to interject real quick because I think it's very important. The number 609-488-4646. But the point that this is great information for veterans, but also veterans' families as well. That's something for folks that are listening out there. There's opportunities for the families of veterans also. Again, that number is 609-488-4646. Robert, Scott, please continue. Got a couple moments left here. Very important stuff.
Couple things that hit my mind that I don't think we brought up. I can't find my dad's records. I can't find the DD 214. I don't know what to do. Robert, what do they do? Because this is a reason not to follow up because you don't know what to do. B, a reason to put it off and maybe I'll get to it later. It's almost like putting your Christmas tree up on December 24th because you don't have any money. Well, that's what I did when I was broke. But this is different. This is a benefit for life. Robert, I can't find the records. What do we do?
Okay, so to answer that really is talk to me. All right, tell me what you know and tell me what you don't know. And I say that because if you don't know how to get your record, and again, this could be the military discharge document, DD 214, or the War Department, the WD document, or it could be I don't have medical records from when I was in. I was in Agent Orange, and when we got discharged, we just sent us home, and I wanted to get out of the Vietnam, so I just left. I never got my records, my medical records, to prove any of my disability. So we could start from there. The answer is come and talk to us. I know exactly where we submit to. I know the documents to submit for. We just do a couple of documents, submit it, it comes in the mail, and then we begin. So if you don't have documents, that's okay. We'll get them. And it's as simple as that. We know where to lead everyone to get this benefit. You start with that. You need the foundation. Then we proceed forward with an application and submission.
I think the worst thing I find out with veterans being in this business now 40 plus years, my dad did pass away within 5 days when he had leukemia. Mom passed away in 3 months. And we never went for the benefit. I frankly never knew about this benefit until I was invited to school. I thought there was a scam, and they said, well, you pay $2,500, come to our school, learn about these benefits. I really honestly thought it was a scam. Dave Conley, one of our attorneys that we work with on estate planning, said, Scotty, what's $2,500 when you can help vets? And he always calls me a draft dodger, even though I wasn't, because I was 4F'd.
Yeah, the good friends give you the hardest time. That's for sure.
They do. They are. We've been together since 1984, Dave Conley and I. And the funniest thing, the wonderful most thing is I did go to school and I said, holy mackerel, every financial advisor should be asking the question, are you a veteran? Was your husband or wife a veteran? Maybe they passed away. Was your mom and dad a veteran? This is part of the estate planning process, Alex. As I meet with people, I'm asking lots of questions. They're asking, why are you asking these questions? Because I'm looking for benefits they are totally unaware of. I'm looking to reduce taxes, the best benefit. I'm looking to make their life much more pleasant. So when they retire, they don't worry about running out of money. They enjoy their lifestyle. And that's why I added this veterans benefit in there, because they didn't take me, Alex. And I felt guilty because that's the whole thing in the McLeans. All the McLeans have to join. That was the rule, and they didn't take me. And I frankly was scared to call my dad, saying they turned me down, they 4F'd me.
Sure.
But the moment I told him, I applied to every single facility, whether the Army, Navy, Marines, which I went for first. Every one of them turned me down. I didn't know they shared records. And then all of a sudden, I was afraid to call my dad. When I called him, he said, okay, son, no big deal. I thought I was going to get drilled down, because his goal in the family was to drill down people to find out the best way possible. Now, Robert, as we close on this subject, as a veteran, you've seen people apply, you've seen people get denied. And then they say, well, I applied, I did it myself, and I didn't get approved. And because they didn't get help. What do you say?
Well, first of all, I say you may not have completed every single document in every single line entry that the VA wants. So they don't explain the discrepancy on your document. They just send it back and say, sorry, not approved. So it becomes very important to know exactly what forms to fill out, exactly where to sign, how to answer the questions in order to get approved at the VA level. And based upon expertise here, that's how you get it through. We've had one claim who got approved, and Scott could verify, from start to finish in 10 days.
That was a miracle, though. That was
10 days.
Don't expect
Phenomenal.
that, guys. This was a miracle. I told you very clearly, but that was wonderful.
It was.
Well,
She started coming in. The wife came in. The husband's like,
A Marine Corps
Marine Corps vet. His noodles went south. He was getting flashbacks. He came in. She was crying, didn't know what to do. They were burning cash. They were going to the nursing home. She came in from hearing me from other people. She came in within, and I will tell you this, I don't know how it happened so quick. I've never seen it, but it is out there. It is real, as long as you do it correct, guys.
Yep.
Alex?
Yep. Thank you.
And you need some guidance. And that's really what we're out here for. We're to guide you to where you need to be based upon your service and your commitment in military.
Thank you.
And that's where it is. And again, serving vets is ideal and in my heart every single day.
Thank you so much for that. Great way to close. And again, if you need help, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Great guest today, Veteran Service Officer Robert Brown. Robert, again, thank you for being a guest today. More importantly, thank you for serving our nation.
You're welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Scott opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group in 2008 to help veterans and their families, guiding them to these important benefits. Again, that number, 609-488-4646. The number for Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. And again, a special salute and thank you to all of our veterans.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.